Hello, and welcome to this HelloID provisioning product release video for February 2023. HelloID provisioning is a 100% born-in-the-cloud, easy-to-configure and maintain user provisioning solution. It helps organizations to fully automate the user lifecycle management in the network by connecting the HR or SIS as a source system. Every change in this source is detected and processed into the network. No more worries about stale user accounts, accumulation of licenses or access rights, manual user management, or compliancy issues. Please note that in this video, we will only show the new functionality for the February 2023 release. Please go to docs.helloid.com or our YouTube channel for more videos. Let's get started. In this video, we'd like to start with a PowerPoint presentation and then demo the new functionalities for the February 2023 release. We have two new items in this release. Target PowerShell System Mapping as a beta feature. This is a new version of our PowerShell Target System connector, which will eventually replace the current PowerShell connector. This new feature is also part of the future PowerShell notification system, which will be available within a short period. One remark on this feature is that it has been tagged by a beta flag on a roadmap, which means that it can only be made available upon request for now. Our second item is the audit logging on publishing business rules. With this release, we introduced the audit logging information to become available within the Elastic after a change in a business rule. This new feature also comes with the introduction of a new summary containing more inside information when publishing a business rule. Let's start with a short demo of these new features for this release. Our first stop is the Target PowerShell System Mapping, which can be found underneath Target Systems. You can add this by clicking the plus icon where a new PowerShell system is now available having the label of being a beta version. Since we already configured one for this demo, we can go back to the system configuration screen where you can see that there is a PowerShell system in place. When we open up the configuration, you might notice that there is a new tab called Fields. From this new tab, you can configure your new mapping. This new screen also contains an overview of the configured fields at this moment and in which you can search for any of the already configured fields. So, when we look up for the Field Manager, for example, you can see that it directly leads to the Manager field, and you can see the entire mapping in general as well. For this field, you can also see there are configured actions in place, which we will discuss later on, and the same for the options. Within this screen, we have also introduced a new preview option, which can be triggered by the preview button. To run a specific preview, we first have to select a person, Albert in this example, and after the preview ID is fired, we can see the outcome in this overview. So the description will be a field with kids, industrial, and clothing. And for fields like external ID and family name, you can see the preview result. Now, when we go back to the description field, we can open up the configuration, and in here you can see some of the new options. The first one is the name of the field, in this case, description. And you can add some text to describe the purpose of this field if necessary. We also have some new options underneath the mapping configuration, as you can see. You can have multiple configuration sets added in one place. In this example, we have two separate configurations which are related to the actions of our configuration. So for this configuration, we have the Create, Enable, Update, and Delete events, which contain a field mapping with the value of the department display name from the primary contract of the person. And the other one is only configured for the disabled event, which contains a fixed value saying Disabled by HelloID. What this means is that once an account gets created, enabled, updated, or deleted, then you can see that the field value for the description field will contain this value. But when an account gets disabled, the description field will be set to a static value of Disabled by HelloID, because you configured a fixed message on the disable action. Underneath this drop-down item, you still have all the possibilities for mapping available, so you can set a fixed field, a mapped field, or even the complex-based function by using JavaScript. In here is also a new toggle which represents some features we were already familiar with. One of them is that the Store in Person account data has now been replaced by Store in Account data. So once this toggle is enabled, the value of the display name will be stored in the export data attribute of the account. There is also a new user notification toggle introduced with this release, which is new because the user notification can be used to make the value of a specific attribute. In this case, the account description available for use in a particular notification. So when we enable the user notifications for this configuration, you can see that the description will now be available as an account object for the create, enable, update, and delete actions. We won't enable this for the disable action yet because we would like to show you what the impact is upon the disable. What we will do for the disable is that saying we want to store this in account data. The screen is auto-saving, so you can see that after each change we make, it saves automatically. When we have this configuration in place and return to our mapping overview, you can see in the description that the configured actions are all highlighted. This means that the description field will be used in all of the user lifecycle event actions. We also have the notification icon active, and in here you can see that the description value is available and can be used in notifications. Those specific actions are the ones which were configured in the configuration set, so for the create, enable, update, and delete actions, we can use the description value of the account, but not in the disable action because that was the one that was excluded by our configuration definition, and it will not be available in notification. We added the disable action to the store account data, so now you can see that the only disable action can contain the export data or the account. Another new, already familiar feature on this screen is to run the preview, which of course you can select the option to run a preview, and the preview values will be shown as an outcome. But there is more in this screen. You have the option to select a different person for preview, and also which of the actions you would like to run the preview for. So if you would like to run a preview scenario for the create event, you can select the create action. Or if you would like to run it for disable event, for example, click the preview, and you can see that the value of our description field is changed to disabled by HelloID. This is because we configured a fixed value in the disable event. There is also an auto run, and this auto run, once enabled, will automatically re-evaluate the screen after a change has been made. You also might have noticed that we have a value for the preview that is not configured. Once this label is being shown, it means that no mapping is in place for this field. For example, our ABC field, which is related to the preview we did for the disable action. Once the disable action took place, you can see that the disable is grayed out, and this means that there is no mapping for this field to be used in the disable event. For demonstration purposes, we also introduced an error field in our mapping. With this error field, you can see that there is an error in our scripting. With this version, you get an error in the preview on the attribute of the mapping which caused this error. Now you can see in this script, the error attribute contains an error. And if you would like to see what is wrong, you can open the configuration of this field. For this field, we configured a small, complex script, and we threw in an error on purpose. Another thing to mention is that we have more editor space and a bigger field of view to configure your script to make it a lot easier to work with when configuring the complex mapping of an attribute to be calculated. Our next item is audit logging on publishing business rules. In this demo, we have a business rule here where we change the conditions for and are going to scope this rule to apply for one single person. And let's also add some entitlements to this rule, some default permissions, for example. Now, once we publish this rule, you might notice there is a new summary shown. This summary indicates that there will be some changes to this business rule because we changed the scope by defining a filter on one specific person, so you can see that the scope has been changed from 26 to 1 and person, which is compared to the state of the last published version of this rule. We changed the attributes so the external ID was not configured, and we changed this to one person, and we also did add some permissions to this business rule. Now when we publish this rule, there will be a record pushed to Elastic, which makes it possible to identify this business rule has been changed. So we publish this one. A remark on this one is this is not only for changing a business rule, but will also be triggered when deleting a business rule. So this draft rule here, when we remove this one, it will also trigger a record to Elastic. indicating that a business rule has been deleted, and the username of the user who removed the business rule. Now, when we open the report, this is a custom report, but a default report will be available after this version of HelloID is released. We made some information available, and in here, you can see what the changes were on our business rules. In here, you can see that we changed the scope of our business rule by publishing. So the action will be related, and you can see the current condition summary and that it has been stored as the external identifier of John D. This is because there is only one person in scope. At the end, you will find the username, and since we logged on as the administrator, you can see that the administrator was involved in the publishing of this business rule. Afterwards, we also deleted another business rule. That is the one you can see over here, and it has been marked by the action delete, which has been triggered by the same user, in this case, our administrator. Thank you so much for watching. Please let us know if you have any additional questions. You can post your question in YouTube or send it to isupport@toolsforever.com. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel to receive frequent updates about improvements and changes in HelloID. Have a wonderful day.